Well, hello and welcome. Have you guys ever been outside and wondered, why, is that the first robin I've seen this fall? Or is that the first daffodil that's bloomed this spring? Those observations are really important in determining something called phenology of an area. And that's what we're going to study a lot today with signs of nature and signs of spring out here at Airlie Gardens, the Arboretum, and also Hugh McCrae Park. And we're going to be looking for signs of life during the year, the first time, the last time something happens, and we're going to keep track of that observation. For example, I was just looking at a robin over here, and it's about February. In a couple months, the robins will actually leave here, and I know that because I've been making robin observations for about 6-7 years here, and they're never here in the summer. They always fly north for the summertime, but in the south, in the wintertime, that's when you'll find them. And making observations just of everyday natural phenomena in your yard can help scientists figure out whether our climate is changing, staying the same, or whether or not animals and plants are moving around. So let's go and take a closer look. Now that's a sign of spring right there. At the tail end of winter and the beginning of spring, we get the blossom of the camellias. And here at Airlie Gardens, they're really known for their camellias. At one point, it was said that every known cultivar of camellia had a home here at Airlie Gardens. So there's thousands of these plants here, and that's one of the great joys, is to come to Airlie before the azaleas bloom later in the spring, but when the camellias bloom. And this is an important plant. It's not native to here, although it's in the tea family. It does provide some nourishment for some local wildlife. So in the winter around here, for example, we might have a bird like the ruby-throated hummingbird. And in the middle of the winter, there's not much to eat, so it's a great thing that some of these blossoms are around to provide a little nourishment in kind of the dormant season for that bird. So, and that's just an important point in general. As we find animals migrating up and down as the seasons change, it's, you know, they're following not just the temperature and the lengthening or shortening of the days, they're following the food. They certainly won't migrate somewhere if their food hasn't popped up out of the ground yet. So in the spring, when the first milkweed comes out of the ground in the south, that's where the monarchs will go. The monarchs who need that plant, the milkweed, won't be found anywhere it hasn't emerged out of the ground yet. So it's important to note that these animals that feed on the plants, they closely follow these organisms as their seasonal changes happen, because differences in food and shelter provision are afforded as things change. So let's keep on going. We'll go check out some bird nests. On our way over here to inspect the osprey nest. We're going to see if there's any activity, any new building going on there, because we just noticed the ospreys have returned back for the spring. So far, nothing right today, but here at my feet, we've got a few acorns that have come from this live oak tree over here. And it's interesting to note about acorns. They generally come off the tree all at one time of year, in the fall. And we all know that squirrels love to hoard these little acorns and store them to eat over the winter. And it's a good thing, though, that the life cycle of the oak tree is in the pattern and in the timing that it is. Imagine if these acorns came off now in the springtime. These are from the fall. If they came off in the spring, there wouldn't be any acorns in the fall to carry the squirrels over the winter. So it's an important thing. Timing is everything when it comes to free lunch in nature. And as you can see here, even the acorns that haven't been used by the squirrels, something else has eaten them. You'll see a little hole in there, maybe a weevil, some kind of beetle got in there. And we'll keep an eye out for our osprey friend this year. We've noticed him sooner than we'd ever had before. We've never seen him before President's Day, but I think we did this year, so pretty exciting stuff. Keep an eye out. So some signs of spring we can detect with our eyes, some with our ears, but also our nose is a valuable tool. And right here, I can smell the first fragrant blooms of this wonderful Edgeworthia plant. And it's kind of a striking plant. Right now it has no foliage, and we can just see the scar buds on the branches here, but this flower, you can see a little of the yellow showing through there. It smells wonderful right now, and I wish I could share that with you, but right now we're gonna head down to the pond and see if we can't find any turtles coming out on this warm spring day. Wow, so we're out here on the search for more signs of spring, and I can see at least 17 yellow-bellied slider turtles sitting on that sunny log, basking themselves on one of the first warm days this season. One sign of spring we can ascertain from these yellow-bellied slider turtles is when they lay their eggs. In just a few weeks, we'll start to see the female mature turtles leave the water, and for their entire lives, they're pretty much in the water, except for when they lay eggs or when they're being hatched. And so, kind of at the beginning of April, we'll see these animals leave the water, start to build nests and burrows in the ground, and they'll lay their eggs in there and cover them back up and then head back into the water. And sometime after that, the eggs hatch out and the baby turtles head off into the water. I wanted to talk a little bit about phenology and citizen science. So phenology, really simply put, is the study of how animals and plants respond to changes in their environment. So on sunny days, we see those turtles come out and bask themselves in the sun to warm up. And in the really depths, colds of the winter, they're gonna burrow in the mud and we won't see them at all. So this is kind of a cool thing. We're seeing them come out of the mud for almost the first time this season. And me, as just an average citizen scientist, I make this casual observation of seeing the turtles, and that becomes a valuable piece of information. Depending on what animals we're observing, for example, I just saw a yellow-rumped warbler, and that little bird we only see in the wintertime, and I can make a note of where and when I saw that bird and what time of day, and I can take that information and put it online at eBird.com. And eBird is a database for anyone to use anywhere in the world. Wherever you make a bird observation, you can put it there, and that helps scientists back at the research facilities make judgments about populations, whether the health of the yellow-rumped warbler is doing well or not. Because really, a scientist, the research scientists, there are very few of them, and they can't go out and collect all this amazing data. But folks like you and me and anybody at home, we can make some really valuable data observations and share that data with the right system like eBird, and scientists can use it and then actually drive some policy, make some changes, and maybe even do things to help that species continue to survive. So right now we're going to head over to the Arboretum and continue to look for more signs of spring. Welcome to the New Hanover County Arboretum. We're here amongst several acres of gardens that are open for free to the public year-round, and we're going to investigate some of the signs of spring here in the garden. But I also wanted to mention that the Arboretum is just a wonderful facility for educational resources. This is a place that houses the plant clinic where you can bring questions from your home garden. What's this bug on my plant? What disease is hurting my tomatoes? All of those questions and more they can address here at the plant clinic. the Cooperative Extension Service, which is a statewide service that has to do a lot with gardening and farming. You can find those resources here as well. But like I said, right now we're going to take advantage of these wonderful gardens here to look for signs of spring. And even standing right here, I can look around and there's a few cherry trees in bloom back there, so that's a sure sign of spring. And as the water warms up here on this little pond, we'll start to see some goldfish coming up more to the surface. I see a few of their shadowy silhouettes through there, but there's some starting to surface, and as it gets warmer, we'll see more of that. And indeed, there's even some squirrels starting to be a little more active out here at the Arboretum since it's starting to warm up. So right now, let's head out further into this wonderful landscape and see what else we can find here in the spring. So here is a really early sign of spring. This is a southern magnolia, which happens to be the native plant in North America that makes the largest flower of any plant. This little guy right here, this little bud, will become a flower that might be up to a foot across in diameter. And they make this really fragrant, lemony smelling smell. So later this year, in the fall, you'll find the big seed pods that have the red seeds in them. So this is where that seed pod starts its life. And once it opens into a flower, pollination will happen. Maybe a bee, a butterfly will visit that animal and carry pollen from one magnolia flower to another. And that will help the seed pod in here develop into that kind of much bigger looking shape with the red seeds. So the very beginning of that reproductive life cycle. And over here we've got some bulbs that are popping up right here. Maybe some daffodils early. So that's going on, just coming out of the ground. And forsythia over here is one of these shrubs that's one of the first to bloom in the springtime. So you see those bright yellow flowers are just getting started. Now we're here at the Arboretum, so we might as well take advantage of another really cool thing they've got here, which is some geocaches. A geocache is kind of a citizen science participation program where little boxes of treasures or a journal with stamps, rubber stamps are inside, and you can find where you might find these geocaches online, or sometimes there are clues hidden at certain locations. And the idea is that you go roaming around at these different parks and gardens and resources and kind of orient yourself into finding where those geocaches are. And when you find one, you can leave your own stamp there, trade something of greater value, you leave something better behind in the little treasure box. And it's kind of a cool activity to get you outside and exploring the resources we have here in New Hanover County. So let's go see if we can find one. Oh, we might have found something over here. Let's take a look. Yes, hidden underneath the structure here we have an old ammo box, and someone has labeled it geocache. Very handy, so we know what we're looking at. And inside, nothing too amazing, no gold pieces, but someone has left behind a little bowling pin. Ooh, there's a whistle. I'm not going to use it. Oh, a seashell. Ooh, this is a baby's ear. This is the name of this seashell. Pretty cool. But at the very least, we also have some folks who've left behind places, maybe where they've been or where they're from. And at the very least, we have folks who have signed their names. And this right here goes back to a year ago at least. This is starting from March 2013, but we have some cool folks who have visited here, and the most recent person visited just about a month ago. So very cool. I'll have to add my own name. So these geocaches, they exist all over the world, and you can go online, see if you can go stir up some more. And there's some at other parks and facilities here in New Hanover County. We're going to see if we can find one over at Hugh McCrae, where we're going to be headed next. think this is it. Came over here to Hugh McCrae to find one of our geocaches, and I think this bench is hiding that secret. Let's see here. Maybe there's, there's something here, a magnetic box. Let's see what's inside. Oh, there's a little piece of jewelry here, very nice. I think I'll leave that. There's something else in here too. Oh, it's a little logbook here. Let's see. Whoops. I want to make sure we put everything back here the way we found it. Wow, so we've got some people's signatures here and the dates they've come. 2014. Oh, we had someone just visit this a couple days ago. Very nice. So this is just one of many geocaches here at Hugh McCrae Park. And we might go searching for some more, but you can find out more about them online with a free app, Geocache application, and you can get a free program. And as you progress and, I guess, accomplish more geocaching, there are more geocaches that you can uncover. So very cool here. I know that Smith Creek Park has some geocaches. We saw one at the Arboretum, so I'm sure more and more of these geocaches will pop up, especially at some of these amazing locations here in New Hanover County parks. Well, here we are wrapping up our wonderful journey through the parks on our geocaching, looking for the first signs of spring. And Hugh McCrae is looking beautiful today. And this is really one of the few places here in town where you can really surround yourself with a bunch of longleaf pines, which happen to be the state tree of North Carolina. And at one point, this country, the United States, the largest forest in this whole nation was the longleaf pine forest. Over 92 million acres of these great trees once existed throughout the Southeast. Unfortunately, we've cut down a lot. Here in North Carolina, we've lost about 97% of the original longleaf pine. So what we have left, we should definitely cherish. And this tree that's everywhere here at Hugh McCrae Park, the one with the gigantic pine cones, it's a big emblem of our state history because inside the trees there's some sap, and that sticky sap was used to make things like naval stores, like pitch and turpentine and tar. These were all sticky materials that were used to glue the sides of wooden sailing vessels together. And Wilmington in the year 1900, more than a century ago, was the world's largest exporter of naval stores. And often the people working on those trees, they would get tar on their feet, sticky stuff on their feet, hence the name Tar Heels. So here at the middle of Hugh McCrae, where all these longleaf pines surround us, we can remember the term Tar Heel because of all the naval stores that were produced from these trees. We've also got some really cool ducks here down at the pond at Hugh McCrae. Most of these ducks are permanent residents, and a lot of them are bred with domestic types of ducks, but every now and then we get some occasional visitors of other species. This looks like a Muscovy duck, which is, I believe, from China. Beautiful green and white feathers. And we were noticing these amazing ducks. Even in the midst of the winter time, they don't seem to be cold when they're swimming around on the pond. And there's two types of ducks out there. Some swim and feed on top of the water. They're dabbling ducks, and they're the ones, whenever you see them dunk their head in the water, you only see their tail ends up in the water, or out of the water. That's a dabbling duck, and they usually just feed from what they can reach at the water's surface. But then there are other ducks like the hooded merganser, which likes to dive under the water and chase after things like fish, and their beaks are different. Dabbler ducks eat a lot more plants, and so they have a round bill, good for eating vegetation, and a lot of diving ducks tend to have sharper bills, good for chasing down the fish and eating amphibians and insects and things like that. But these ducks, when they swim, even in the middle of the winter, don't seem to be cold, which is amazing because their little legs are sticking out right into the middle of the water, and the ducks have figured out a special adaptation for that. When the blood in their body is about to go into their legs, they actually chill it down, they cool it down, and then the cold blood passes through their legs, and when it comes back up to their body, it gets reheated again. And this way of blood exchange in the legs keeps the duck from losing all its body heat in the water. So they kind of cool down their blood and reheat it back up when it comes out of their legs. So amazing animals, really great flyers, adapted to all kinds of habitats found throughout the world. And here in the wintertime in North Carolina, we have lots of visiting ducks. And you can definitely see a lot of those at Airlie and Smith Creek Park and some of the other New Hanover County parks. So thanks for joining us here on Cape Fear Critters. And we hope you join us next time and in the future. We're going to look more into geocaching and see what else is in store hidden out amongst the parks here in New Hanover County. Thanks for watching Cape Fear Critters.